You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? It is your girl, your diva in knowledge, Lady Mocha, representing Mocha's Ladies Lounge, where I'm always serving you wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual awareness. Hope everybody is doing good. If you are not a part of the Mocha's Ladies Lounge family, please join us. You are welcome to subscribe. It is free. I upload twice a week. Every once in a while, y'all get lucky, and I may do triple shots of Mocha, in which I can upload 3 content a day. But nevertheless, y'all, I'm trying to definitely stay consistent and motivated. And again, I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Please make sure you hit the like button. If you have not hit the like button already, I would gladly appreciate that. Also, I do have a membership for those of you who would like to actually become members of the congregation. It is only $3 a month, and it definitely goes a long way. I'm currently still working on my drama novel, Jezebel Spells Tale. So, I got a whole lot going on. But anyway, let's get into it, right? So, y'all, I thought it was imperative that we talked about this because, ladies, you need to be very mindful when you get involved with these successful men, because you do not know their past, and you don't know the cards they dealt or what kind of contract they signed with the devil to get to where they are. So, of course, everything I say in this content is alleged and based off of my own opinion. Everything is alleged. Nothing I say is actual factual. I don't know these people from a can of paint. I never even had a cup of coffee with Jay-Z or Beyonce, okay? But nevertheless, I'm just sharing my opinion. This is what I think, and I'm just giving y'all my narratives on this whole situation surrounding them. So, y'all, the Carters have been known as this power couple in the industry that has basically climbed the very top of the pyramid when it comes to the elites, right? And nevertheless, throughout the years, I would say this: you can't knock the fact that both of them are successful within their own right, that both have accomplished many that others would dream to even accomplish. So Beyonce has definitely worked hard to become this icon that a lot of her fans so dearly love and worship. Jay-Z also has always been successful within his own right. He's a very skilled lyrical rapper, very business minded. The man, he has a lot of accolades, you know what I mean? So before I go in and rip them apart, let me first pay flowers, you know what I mean? Let me definitely commend them for their accomplishments. And you cannot knock that, whether you like them, whether you rock with them or you don't rock with them. You cannot the fact that these two individuals have worked very hard to get to where they are. However, all right, let's not act like the Carters have not done a lot of corrupt things to get to where they are. We're not going to act like Jay-Z did not burn a lot of bridges with not is it yeah I think Rock Nation, the clothing brand, the brand that him and whatchamacallit, oh my gosh, I can't think of the man name, Damien, Damien and y'all, I don't know why my brain is so fogged up today, but We can't act like, basically Jay-Z burnt a lot of bridges, okay? All right, let's just call it for what it is, okay? Um, he's crossed a lot of friends. He's crossed a lot of his business partners. Dame and Dash. I couldn't think of the joker name. Yeah, Rockefeller. Yeah, that's what it was, y'all. Thank God for internet and Google, right? So he's done a lot of people in to get to where he is. We're not going to act like he's been this upstanding, law abiding, um, clean cut human being that has not basically trampled over a lot of people. He stumped on a lot of people to climb the ladder. And let's face it, Jay-Z is ruthless, and he comes from a world in which he had to be ruthless. Growing up on Marcy Projects, being a dope boy, corner boy, that street edge never left Jay-Z. Even when he became a successful billionaire, he still takes that dope boy mentality of, I'm a do whoever I got to do in and get to where I got to be. If I got to cross some ninjas, if I got to burn some bridges, as long as in the long run, I'm going to benefit from the bridges that I burn, then I'm going to do what I got to do. You get what I'm saying? So, Jay-Z has always been cutthroat way before he became this billionaire and Beyonce husband that we have known. And let's not mention it. Let's not forget to mention, Beyonce has done the same thing. Beyonce started off in Destiny's Child, a group that was supposed to be a dream, that, her friends, they basically created this group when they were little girls. And this was a dream they all talked about having and developing and living in the future as this phenomenal, successful group was all a stardom. And of course, when Beyonce was in a struggle, her father played a big part. He was like the Joe Jackson 3.0. He pushed very hard. He saw something special in Beyonce, and he was not going to let up until he did everything possible to get them there. And I mean, I've seen documentaries where Beyonce's mother was very transparent about it. They went without heat just for him to pay for the studio time. They, like any other celebrity that's starting off in a struggle, a starving artist, you literally have to starve to get to where you are. So Beyonce was fortunate to have a father who saw so much of her potential. And you got some parents that are like that. They see potential in their children and they're going to fight with tooth and nails, like Michael Jackson parents. Now, some parents was very extreme, abusive, narcissistic, but in Beyonce's case, she didn't experience that level of control, but she did experience early at a young age the fight for what you want, and you got to put in work. And that's why Beyonce to this day is pushing her late 40s, and she's still very eager and determined to stay on top. And that's been drilled into her ever since she's been a little girl. You got to stay on top. You got to stay to be successful. You got to work hard. So basically, it was ingrained in Beyonce from day one to be a star. So nevertheless, she developed a group of her friends, and we all knew from the beginning, the way the seed was planted, that there was really no intentions on Beyonce and her friends forming this group that was going to last for a lifetime and benefit everybody. Let's face it, whenever a parent is putting a group together, they're going to look out for the best interest of their child. You know what I mean? So, unfortunately, Kelly, Michelle, Latavia, Latoya, they light was dimmed because they was already at a disadvantage with the fact that Beyonce's father created the group to build a legacy for Beyonce. The other girls were just there as decorations, like props, to basically help to build and develop Beyonce's career. And when she finally reached that plateau where their services was no longer needed, and then Latavia and Latoya tried to stand on business and say, hey, we think it's best at this point that we get our own manager. We didn't mind going along to get along and let your father run everything, but we seeing the way everything is going more so for your favor. And like any other machine. When you go against the machine and you start wanting to do your own thing, you become a threat. So Beyonce's father, of course, they booted Latoya and Latavia. And, them girls, they struggled ever since to be able to really elevate their career. Now, Latoya's a different exception to the rule. She's done great with a lot of TV series and movies and stuff like that. But Latavia had completely fallen off. She even had resorted to alcohol and all of that. And Greenleaf. Latavia Luckett was on Greenleaf. So Latavia kept pushing and got her flowers the best way she could. But let's face it, they never got as big as Beyonce. And that is because it was never designed from day one for anybody to be bigger than Beyonce. So anybody who was involved in Beyonce's spotlight, it was to benefit Beyonce. And even Kelly has struggled with it because it was people behind closed doors, even though she'll act like up front she don't have a problem with it. But it was other producers that said Kelly was like, hey, I wouldn't mind more spotlight. I wouldn't mind, this, that. And at that time, because Destiny's Child was in their peak, and that hunger and that drive was on full acceleration, Matthew Knowles was not going to stop at nothing to make sure that drive didn't continue to keep elevating for his daughter. So by no means was nobody not going to get the spotlight except Beyonce. Now later on, when Destiny's Child, the group, kind of started phasing out, that's when Beyonce branched and did her own solo thing. And that's when Michelle had her gospel and Kelly had tried to do her soft rock. But let's face it, the way Kelly and the other girls were brought into the group, it was never destined for them to be the ones that end up being the main star. And at the end of the day, people are going to look out for the best interests of their own children, and that's what happened. So it was Matthew Knowles who made sure his daughter Beyonce Knowles got that leverage in her success, even though in the end she ended up doing his ass in too. But we'll talk about that later, right? So I know I'm digressing. But just basically what I'm saying is both of them stepped on a lot of people to get to where they were, okay? A lot of the guys who used to rap with Jay-Z, who y'all wouldn't even know, y'all wouldn't even recognize if y'all saw them in a gas station. He started off with regular guys that was hungry, struggling and bumming for change to get studio time, but you would never know that because Jay-Z has always downplayed his real struggles of how he got to where he is. I mean, he has mentioned it, but he don't really address people who was, he didn't address the people that he struggled with before his success elevated. He never paid homage to any of the guys back in the projects when they used to beat on the walls to make beats and stuff. You know what I mean? He basically forgot where he came from. Once he elevated and got big, Jay-Z left everything behind in the projects, including kids he created, friendships he done built, his criminal past, all of that. I mean, get it? Some things need to be left behind, but let's face it. Sometimes when you try to leave your past behind, your past has a way of following you. And that's what we're going to go into, right? Because, I mean, y'all don't need a whole story of the struggles, the success. I think y'all pretty much have the idea of that if you've been fans of these two for any amount of time. You pretty much already know the backstory to that, right? But what are we really talking about today, all right? When women look at a man, when women look at a man at the peak of success, they often forget that success is the final chapter, not the beginning. With men like Jay-Z, the public story usually starts at billionaire status, but the character formation started decades earlier. You don't meet a man's future without inheriting his past. So, who was the real Jay-Z? Who was he? Before he started wearing the Armani suits, before he created his own, before he became the CEO of Def Jam, he was eating jam out the jar. You know what I mean? Before he became Rock Nation, all right? Before he created all of this success and status, Jay-Z was a regular dope boy. He was a dope boy. And all of this is alleged. But even he has confirmed that in a lot of his music. He's even discussed it in his interviews. So let's talk about what the old Jay-Z was before he became Jay-Z the billionaire, before he became Jay-Z, Beyonce's husband, before he became Jay-Z, the successful platinum record selling artist. Who was Jay-Z? Okay, well, Jay-Z has been very open about growing up in poverty and participating in street level drug activity. Okay, now let me tell you why this matters. Cause I know a lot of y'all will. That's back then. That got nothing to do with now. He's a billionaire now. He don't have to sell drugs now. Why are you bringing up the past? Why you being a hater? Why you got to reach way back there? That was every bit in the late 90s, girl. We all in the 2000s. We passed the 2000s. Why are we going there? Well, you got to understand. It says a lot about his character. All right. And this is not to say people cannot change, but your past in some form or another, it still builds your character. And it builds how you deal with life and how you deal with obstacles. Okay. So picture it. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, when we was rocking the MCM, the big door knocker earrings, that salt and pepper short hairdos, all right? Windbreakers, wearing felines, you know what I mean? You got to go way back then, because trying to fit Jay-Z into where he is now, it's not going to make sense to you, and you're going to lose the whole message. So let's talk about what Jay-Z was in the 90s. Back then, you have to realize Jay-Z was a dope boy, corner boy, okay? Back then, dope boys, drug dealers was the in thing, especially in the projects, especially in that era of the late 80s and the early 90s. Women in poverty, meaning women who were struggling, women who didn't have father figures, young women back then, who didn't have money, who didn't have wisdom and knowledge and understanding of what type of men to stay away from. Back then, when you're a young woman, that's what it was about. Dating the guys or seeking the guys that had a lot of money. Even if he was a dope boy, getting a dope boy back then was like getting an expensive NBA player like on Kobe Bryant level or something like that, or NBA young boy. That was the thing back in the day. Get you a dope boy, okay? The dude that lives in the project but dressed very flashy, wear the gold chains, wear the newest kicks. He wasn't all that fine and good looking, but he had money. He had pizzazz. He had charm. He knew how to dress. He had bling bling. He knew how to wear the latest kicks. You know what I mean? He knew how to finesse and dress. All right. So back then in the projects, low income housing, anybody who's from Brooklyn, anybody who has been raised in that type of environment, everybody know dope boys was the thing back then. They was the ones who had the cars, the money. Didn't even have to be fine, but nice cars and nice money. And money. Okay, nice cars, money, newest outfits, all of that, right? Now, to give y'all a better perception, watch Paid in Full. Okay, that will kind of give you a really good insight on how dope boys was back in the day, okay? Every girl wanted one. We're not talking about you prissy ones who was raised in a household with your mama and your dad and you lived in the suburbs and your dad was a doctor and your mom was a CNA. This ain't for you. We're talking about girls who was raised in the hood, who was struggling, who had to eat cereal with carnation milk and water mixed together. We're talking about women who experienced poverty. Getting a dope boy was the thing back in the day. Drug dealers held status and power in poor communities. And Jay-Z was that. He had a lot of status. The only thing with his status, he had talent. He had skills. And being in the hood, living in the projects, you had to be good at something. And most of the guys back then in that era, they was either good at one or two things. Either selling drugs or shooting hoops. Those were the main things. Most stars and athletes come from the projects. Like Carmelo Anthony, I believe, was one. Allen Iverson. You have a lot of basketball players, they'll tell you. Because in poverty and living in the projects, there was not a lot to do. So the only thing you could do was go shoot hoops or become a drug dealer or become a gangster. That's all it was back then. There wasn't many options for black men back then. So some of them made good of it. They took their drug money, invested it, saved it, stacked it up, bought a house. Others took their skills that they used to shoot hoops and ended up drafting in the NBA. So some of these brothers did make good with their talent and skills in the projects and poverty. Others wasn't so successful and didn't make it. Some ended up in prison for life. Others ended up dead by gun violence, So Jay-Z was one of the fortunate ones that had beat a lot of obstacles that many was unfortunate enough, right? So they were the equivalent, talking about the dope boys back in the day, they were the equivalent of today's industry celebrities. Money, access, protection created imbalance. Power doesn't corrupt. It reveals what a man is attracted to when no one is watching, right? So, as we see Jay-Z, this not so good looking, but you can tell he had confidence. You could tell he was one that was about making money. You can tell he was not one that was just gonna settle and not overcome his obstacles. He was just one of those type of dudes that was just determined to have more, to be more, and nothing is wrong with that, okay? But Jay-Z was not always Jay-Z. So, when we talk about, right, Jay-Z, back in the day when he was young, okay? Keep in mind, most dope boys was attracted to younger women. Let's not act like that didn't go on back in the day. Let's not act like young women was not the thing for dope boys back in the day. Let's not act like they wasn't, okay? Anybody from the projects or from the hood knows. And it's not acceptable today because, as we know, you will be considered a pedophile. But let's face it, back in the day, dope boys always went after younger women. They always did. I mean, even back in my day, a lot of the dope boys would try to approach me, and I was like only 12 or 13 years old, okay? That was the thing. Dope boys didn't care about age. They cared about basically capitalizing and benefiting off of young women who was poverty stricken, who wasn't used to much, and they, use it to their benefit. Back then, being a dope boy, you could pretty much get the cookie thrown at you, especially when you're dealing with young women who don't have much, young women who live in the projects, who staying with parents, who possibly work several hours just to pay the rent back then, which was probably only $100. Project girls never really had their parents at home. In some instances, the mama was probably always home because she was living off the system. But for the most part, young women in low subsidizing housing, they was always vulnerable when it came to these older dope boys. Why? Because dope boys have money. They had charm. They knew how to finesse. They knew how to buy you things to make you feel special. Back then, if a man bought you a pair of felines or some Nikes, that was a big deal. Dope boys would do that. Dope boys I knew, they would be dealing with like 3-4 girls all at once in the same complex, buying everybody shoes, buying everybody jewelry, and you know what I mean? And that was the lifestyle that they lived. And because young women back then was in poverty and struggling, they learned to tolerate the disrespect, tolerate being just another one of the girls in the group who he gave money to, who he at least gave some type of attention or recognition to. So back then, females was like, hell, he buying me jewelry. He taking me out. He doing nice things for me. You know, hey, I know he's a player, but long as he willing to finance, I'll take some of the romance, however I can get it, right? So, in poverty-stricken communities, younger women were more vulnerable. Now, this is a picture of Ramir, who he yet denies does not want to take a paternity test at all. He's never going to do that. This is Ramir's mother. Okay, so as you can see, if I could blow it up. Yeah, Jay-Z was very much into young women back then. You know, so Jay-Z looks like he's probably every bit of maybe 18, 19, I'm thinking in this picture, and she looks like she has to be at least 14 or 15. We know this much, she's not a full-grown woman. And we know this much, he was over 18 and he knew better. We know that, okay? All right? This is the reason why he won't claim this young man. He won't do no paternity test because Jay-Z do not want that smoke. Jay-Z was a wild boy back in the day. Don't look at the quiet, humble, easygoing, dreadhead, billionaire. This dude was a wild dude back in the day. He was smashing all the honeys, young honeys. That's what dope boys in the projects did back in the day. It was acceptable. It's not acceptable today, though. No difference than Elvis Presley. His wife was underage, and the other singer, Jerry Lewis, who was smashing his own cousin. I mean, men. Some of these men got a real shady past. That's why you got to get to know these husbands. I don't care if they've been billionaires, millionaires, or they own their own company. You got to find out if these dudes had a really corrupt past. Because these days, thanks to social media and people having so much resources to things now, you could easily get exploited for your past, okay? All right. So financial security felt like safety. Like I said, young girls easily fall prey to money. Young women become pedophile material to men who have money, especially if she's in poverty, especially if she doesn't have much and she's not used to much. She will easily be manipulated and taken advantage of. Older men with resources had influence. Jay-Z is still Jay-Z. If you see the older Jay-Z we see, he knows how to finesse his words. He knows how to articulate himself in a very intelligent manner. Trust and believe, even at 18, 19, he did the same thing. He knew how to finesse. He knew how to work his mojo. He knew how to get women to like him. Okay, that's why this young girl is so comfortable with him grabbing on her behind, because at that point, she done already been with Jay-Z. Jay-Z had already been spending money on her. This is not something you're going to smile and feel comfortable with doing with a guy that's not smashing you, that you're not already dealing with on that level. You feel me? All right, so when a man's early power came from imbalance, he may unconsciously seek that same imbalance later, even in polished environments. So this man was used to power. This man was used to using his masculine charm to get whatever he wanted out of women. This man was used to hustling the streets to make things happen and to get over. And he pretty much has brought those same character traits with him into the industry. The only difference is he polished it up a little bit better. Okay, so let me also mention success doesn't automatically upgrade attraction. All right. Money evolves faster than mindset. A man can become wealthy, respected, and powerful while still emotionally wired to the dynamics that shaped him early on. So, this is why, people are now discussing all the age gaps, right? They're discussing all the age gaps, between Jay-Z and Aaliyah and all of these other young women. Now, let's face it, the majority of the women that Jay-Z dealt with were young women. Okay, we're not going to act like because he's a billionaire now, this man has not had a consistent pattern of dealing with young women. He was crazy about some Aaliyah, and who wouldn't be? She was stunning and beautiful. Jay-Z loved himself some young women. Okay, He's always had a fetish or infatuation with women younger than him. Down to Foxy Brown. Other young women who are not famous that we know of. He's always had a thing for young females. Okay. When he dealt with Beyonce, Beyonce was 16. Now they keep trying to be slick and raise the age. Oh, she was 17. She was 18. But you know, when you have money, you can get people to change the narrative however you see fit. Okay. So Jay-Z, you rarely ever saw him with women his age, if you really think about it. You rarely ever saw him. Now, he was with Blue Cantrell, but that came and went. And he never even really acknowledged that. But Jay-Z has always had a liking for young, pretty, attractive women. Okay? All right? So, let's not act like Jay-Z didn't roll like that. Okay? Jay-Z loved himself some young women. That's all he's ever kept himself around. All right? So, let me come back from that. All right? So, when we talk about Jay-Z's infatuation with younger women, he, like I stated, he met Beyonce, and they played that down for a long time. A lot of people suspected him or her were dating, and you have to realize Beyonce was very young when she got into the industry. She was like 14, 15. She's just always looked older, because in the industry you end up looking older than what you are, because they make you dress more womanly and act more womanly, and the industry does make you grow up relatively fast. So when she met Jay-Z, I'm sure she was starstruck, even though she was just beginning to become a star herself. When you get in the industry, you start traveling these circles, you start getting acquainted with people. And when she met Jay-Z, I believe Beyonce was shocked at the fact that Jay-Z desired her or was checking for her. Keep in mind, yeah, we know her as this drop dead gorgeous female R&B icon, or whatever you want to call her today. Back then, she was still a baby to the industry. Her name wasn't as big as it is now. So to have a man like Jay-Z approach you, talk to you, and show you some interest, for her during that prime and vulnerable stage in her life, I'm sure that was a very huge thing coming from Jay-Z. She fell in love with Jay-Z without really knowing Sean Carter. Jay-Z, the rapper, talking to you, courting you, dating you, showing interest in you. Any young woman who's just getting into the industry to have a man, an older man on that level court you, of course you're gonna become pedophile prey. You're gonna become pookie prey right away, especially in the industry, because you're constantly traveling these circles with these celebrities. If it wouldn't have been Jay-Z, it would have been anybody. Okay, let's not act like, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant did not get Vanessa when she was every bit of 16, under 17 years old. Okay, these older industry men have always been able to get away with pedophilia behavior because you got parents that are greedy, and they don't mind if their daughters get close to a billionaire or somebody who's well known in the industry, even though it is pedophilic behavior. But older men who are successful, they get a pass on getting away with this stuff. Beyonce's parents probably wasn't fond of her dating Jay-Z. At least I knew her father wasn't, because of his past or whatever, but at the same time, they did nothing to stop it either, because it was a part of them that wanted her to be linked to somebody bigger than her or just as big. So it's one of those things where you're willing to go against your morals and your principles as long as it's going to benefit your pockets and your child's career in the long run. You know, same thing. Vanessa, Kobe Bryant's wife, her parents knew it was wrong for him to be dating somebody underage like that. But what the parents did was they basically went along with it and just basically told him, hey, as long as by the time she's 18, you marry her, we're going to sweep it up under the rug. Money over morals every day, all day. You know what I mean? That's just a part of the game. As long as you got the money and the success, you're allowed to get away with a little bit more. You know what I mean? Compared to other people. That's just how that goes, right? Okay. So, Um, many men never expect their past to follow them. Because for one, they don't foresee fame. Jay-Z never thought he was going to be this famous and a millionaires. He never, from his dope boy mindset back then to where he is now, he never saw himself becoming this successful and becoming this powerful in the industry. He never saw it coming. They didn't expect scrutiny. You didn't expect for people to start questioning your character, questioning your morals. It's like a domino effect now. Ever since this Diddy, the situation when Diddy came about, a lot of people are off and hiding now, and a lot of these industry dudes who have a demonic past, a lot of these guys are shaking in their boots right now with this Epstein file and all of this stuff coming out. Thanks to social media, people are exploiting people's past. And think about it, it's not us average folks who doing it, because we don't have the money, we don't have the power, we don't have the pull to exploit people like Jay-Z or people like Trump or however. But if you think about it, it's mostly people with power that's exposing other people with power. And that's the only way people are going to really see the truth. It's going to take people who got the same amount of power and clout they have to exploit them. Nicki Minaj is doing a phenomenal job of that right now. She's steady up there posting on Instagram about Jay-Z being a pedophile and having a past of dealing with young women. She would not take her foot off his neck, even though she's married to a registered sex offender. But in all fairness, her husband isn't big time famous like Jay-Z. Her husband doesn't own any corporations or businesses. So even though Nicki is doing that elbow calling the kneecap ashy type thing, in a sense, her situation ain't gonna stand out as poorly as Jay-Z, because that's Nicki Minaj's husband with that past. Nicki's husband is not a big time star. Nobody cares about him. He's not relevant enough for people to really taunt him as much about it. People could care less. But Jay-Z has a lot of enemies out here. Not only have enemies, he have haters. He have people that want to see him fail. And he got enemies, as I stated, because he burnt a lot of bridges. Dudes who started off with him. People are ready for Jay-Z to get exposed because he has done a lot. Okay. Another reason you have men who kind of don't really expect their past to follow is because they assume success will overwrite history. But I'm bigger than that now. I'm a billionaire now. I'm not a corner boy now. I'm a married man now. I have children now. A lot of times they think their success is going to overshadow their past. But success doesn't erase receipts. It magnifies them. Okay? So, to me, I look at it like this. Success just enhances what a man has always been. If you was ruthless and heartless in the streets when you was broke in the corner boy, you damn sure won't become ruthless as a billionaire CEO. That character is not going to leave you because you have millions. If anything, it enhances it. If you was a cutthroat ninja who didn't care if you had to knock somebody over to get what you wanted as a dope boy, shit, you're going to do the same thing when you become a successful CEO. You'll knock anybody over. You may not knock them in the head and snatch their pocketbook like you did in the projects, but you'll snatch their deals. That's why Nicki Minaj hates Jay-Z and is exploiting him, because he basically robbed her of a lot of money. You know, so you still taking that street ninja, dope boy, thug mentality with you. You're only taking it from the streets to the boardroom. You get what I'm saying? So ruthless is still a part of his character, because he had to be that when he was in the street. He had to be in the street. It was dog eat dog. So he had to, to this day, he's still dog eat dog. You know, it's all about, I got mine, you better get yours. That's why when Diddy fell off, he turned around and walked off and act like he ain't know Diddy. I mean, that's the same street mentality. If you and your homeboy doing a drug deal together and he get unalived in front of you, coming from a sleazy drug deal going bad, guess what? You gonna walk. Oh well, that's on him. That's part of the game. And Jay-Z, that street dope boy mentality has not left. That's why he walked from Diddy. Okay? In the streets, you never had to be loyal. And even in the court, in the boardroom, you still don't have to show that loyalty. It still follows him to this day, that corrupt character. Women often evaluate men based on who he is now, what he provides now, what lifestyle he offers now. But empire building requires backward vision, not just forward dreams. How did he gain power before legitimacy? Who did he have access to before accountability? What patterns existed before success demanded polish? If you guys have not already, ladies, please hit that like button. Because marriage doesn't protect you from history. It links you to it. Okay? This conversation is not about tearing down successful men or accusing women of wrongdoing. It's about reminding women that love, loyalty, and silence do not undo a man's formative patterns. When you marry a man, you don't just inherit his future or his children or access codes to his safe. You inherit everything he survived, benefited from, and never resolved. And sometimes the past doesn't come back because it's lying. It comes back because it was never dealt with. Okay? And this is just a harsh reality of the matter, right? And it's other things we do have to really look at, right? Marriage is a merger, not a cover-up. When you marry, your brand merges with his legally, financially, and publicly. Now, allegedly, I heard he left the United States and they're in another country. I would not be surprised because I believe when the empire came down for Diddy, you got to remember, Jay-Z got that dope boy mentality. He's going to jump ship before he gets exposed, okay? Like a dope boy, if you already know the cops coming for you or looking for you, you're going to start stacking up your bread and you're going to have to relocate and start selling another block, or you're going to have to take that bread and put it towards a business. And that's what Jay-Z is doing. Jay-Z knows he has a lot to lose. He has an empire. He has a family who has to live off of his legacy. And I think he knows more than anything that his wife is very frustrated with all of the controversy that's surrounding his brand. Jay-Z is a perfectionist, and so is his wife. They're not used to this type of scrutiny. These two have been whistle clean, prestigious, top-notch, flawless. They're not used to this kind of controversy surrounding their marriage. These two have always crossed their T's and dotted all the I's. They've always been able to pay their problems to go away and put up this facade. But the way things are now, it's getting kind of hard. It's getting harder and harder to cover up lies, you know. Lies are expensive. You know, you can only pay off lies and make the truth go away but so much. His controversies become your PR problem. Allegedly, she's lost millions of followers from her Instagram. Word is her tickets ain't hitting like it used to her tours. Now, to y'all who are obsessed and idolize these celebrities in the back of your mind, oh, she's good, she don't want for nothing, she's a billionaire, why is you hating, she doing good. Listen, these billionaires, they know when the numbers are dropping. Just because we are making payments monthly on our Toyota Camrys and all this and that, our struggle is not their same struggle. They got what's called rich people struggles. Yeah, to your fans, they see you still making 300 million, but you used to get at 800 million. These people's lifestyles are different from us. What you think is rich to you from your low level of income, that's not rich for them. And let's say she's doing great with her tours and stuff. Let's say she's still able to travel to go to France and Rome. If you are used to your income looking a certain way, to you, it can still feel like you're broke. It's called being rich broke. Okay? It's low level, but on rich people status. It's called being rich po or po rich, however you want to call it. You have to realize times are hard now because the people who support them, we're in the struggle. We can't support them like we used to. We can't go to their shows like we used to. Hell, we don't even buy their music like we used to. Thanks to YouTube. Even these streaming services, they're not making no money. I haven't brought music for how long, and I ain't going to self-incriminate myself, but I get my music how I get my music, and I'll leave it at that. But anybody who's back from the 90s, remember LimeWire and FrostWire, before all that stuff shut down? Yeah, so fans are not able to support the brand as much. I didn't even know she had a liquor brand that was out. I heard that got pulled from the shelves because nobody was buying that. Her hair products and all of that, people are just not really feeling the Carters like that. You know what I mean? Of course, they got a lot of fans who still love them, but people cannot afford them. Even House of Darion struggled. Beyonce, I can say she probably never struggled with her tours or her music, but her products, they come and go. I've never heard her really, unless y'all heard something different. I'm not a fan. So maybe she has done well in other brands that I don't know about. Anyway, his past becomes your risk exposure. Now they start digging out his past, they're gonna dig out yours. Because y'all are a couple, and what they're trying to do is once the industry wants to cast him out, they're going to take out whoever is associated with him. So look at Diddy. Diddy's kids are not getting any luck, okay? They can't win for losing. They had nothing to do with what Diddy did. They wasn't at the parties, allegedly, other than his other son, Christian and King, whatever. That's a whole nother story. But for the most part, anybody associated to a falling brand, eventually their brand is going to fall. His enemies gain access to your name. So this is the thing. It's one thing if you got one or two people who don't like you. Okay, the average person, you may have 3 or 4 people who just straight up don't like you. One on your job, one family member who don't F with you, you don't F with them, and you may have your neighbor who's been living across the street for you for years and y'all just don't bubble with each other. Everybody has enemies everywhere. But imagine having millions. And some of your enemies are the ones you are in partnership with. Some of your enemies are the ones that are your nannies, or your maids, or your limo drivers. You have so many people on your camp. You cannot keep your eyes and ears open to every plot the devil has in store for you. You just cannot. So once people get a whiff of any of the skeletons in your closet, they're going to use it to your advantage, okay? If it means taking you down because they can't stand your damn husband, they're going to do that. Love doesn't shield you from association. It amplifies it. And already, and this is new to Beyonce, and she may not be crying about it publicly and showing her anger or animosity about it, but I know it's making her feel some type of way because this girl is used to a squeaky clean image. She's not used to having this much exposure. People who aren't used to exposure on this level, they can't handle it. I believe Beyonce is very sensitive. I believe she may be a beast on the stage, but I believe behind closed doors, she is as fragile as an eggshell. I don't think she handles scrutiny well. I don't think she handles failure well, and I definitely don't think she likes controversy. This is the reason why when her father went out there and made them 2 babies, Beyonce didn't say nothing about it. She never acknowledged it, and she even got rid of her daddy because she was like, you not about to be spending all my millions and supporting your side chicks. Not only that, you embarrassed me by having these other siblings on me. I don't want none of this associated to my brand. I think Beyonce cannot stomach anything that makes her brand look bad. But it's one thing if you got fans or 1 or 2 former bandmates who talking reckless about you, but to have this many people in on you, and it's like a tire rolling down the hill. You can't stop it. I don't care if she decides to go ghost and quiet. People are not going to stop gunning for her because of Jay-Z. These past couple of weeks, they are not letting up off Jay-Z. Every time Jay-Z gets a little breather and he thinks he's free and things done calm down, every time Jay-Z puts a fire out, a new fire sparks right back up every time. And I really think it's reaping season for him. I think he's done so much to people, and he's done a lot of people in, and he has a son out there. He doesn't acknowledge. He would not set himself free from that. And he's not realizing the bridges that you're burning has everything to do with your blessings being blocked, because you're so used to your money and your power getting you out of things and helping you dodge bullets. And you're not understanding it is reaping season. You're not going to be able to buy enough of people off to keep your secrets quiet. You're not going to be able to buy people off to make your past go away. It's just not going to happen. And I believe Beyonce is content and happy when Jay-Z can pay the problems away. I think I believe Beyonce is content when Jay-Z can make problems go away. I believe times like this, when the heat turns up and the spotlight is back on him, I believe she's in a frenzy right now. And it's going to show sooner than later. They're downplaying it. Of course, they got to stand on business and keep the united front, keep on that bravery. But I believe Beyonce is losing it. But she's stuck between a rock and a hard place, because if I leave my husband, then it's going to look like, okay, there really is trouble in paradise. But if I stay married, my brand is also going to be affected because of the things that my husband has did. Listen, R. Kelly, former ex-husband, whatever, ex-wife, whatever, Aunt Andrea, she can't catch a break because of who she's associated with. And she did say something very powerful one time. I'll never forget when R. Kelly's ex-wife, Andrea, she said, I got so many people who are punishing me for what he did. Okay, so that's the thing. When you decide to marry these men, two comes as a one. The Bible don't just say that for nothing. It means whatever this man does is going to affect you. If this man is out here creating more babies that he don't want to claim, don't think it's not going to come back and affect you, because people are going to look at you like, what kind of woman are you to encourage a man and not have anything to do with his kids? Beyonce is getting a lot of hot grease thrown at her because of Jay-Z's past, right? Knowing the past and ignoring it is a choice. There's a difference between being deceived and being aware but hopeful. Beyonce's not deceived anymore. She's been with Jay-Z long enough to know this man has a lot of, he don't have just a closet full of skeletons. This man has a whole graveyard. But she's so fixated off of her image, she's going to play it all the way to the end until it becomes a catastrophe. When a woman knows a man's history and chooses to stand by him anyway, she also chooses the potential consequences of that history resurfacing. So B, if you got any dirt too, guess what, girlfriend? They coming for you too. You will become the sacrificial lamb. Support doesn't counsel accountability. It attaches you to it. Silence is interpreted as endorsement. And high-profile relationships, staying quiet is rarely neutral. The public assumes alignment. Critics assume complicity, and brands assume risk. Invisibility is not a protection when your visibility built the empire. So trying to downplay it, moving to another country, I mean, they are literally on a run. We are on a run. Yeah, y'all on a run for real. And as you stated in all your songs, no matter what, you going to stand by them, but at what cost? As long as I'm next to you. Is that why she wrote those lyrics? Because she knew sooner or later the grist was going to hit the fan. Like, I'm going to stand by you no matter how ugly it get, no matter how bad it get, no matter how crucial it get. Art imitates life. It's funny that they did the On the Run tour and they on the run for real. Empires don't collapse overnight. They erode. Most women don't lose everything instantly. What happens instead is subtle distancing, quiet contract losses, shifted alliances, reputation fatigue. Damage doesn't have to be loud to be lasting. Baby, trust and believe, Beyonce been losing deals left and right. I've allegedly heard they haven't been able to get loans. Many places, listen, when us colored folks start getting a little stain thrown at us, listen, they start treating us like we the plague, okay? We don't get the same mercy and grace as the Clorox community. And I'm going to say it like that. Okay, so don't think, and they see it. They see it. It's the fans that are fooled and manipulated. Oh, she's a billionaire. Y'all just hating. They doing good. Y'all the ones struggling in y'all mobile home trailer. Y'all just mad because y'all still got y'all 2016 Nissan Altima. Listen, power comes with greed, and when you are used to accumulating a certain amount of money, you're never going to be satisfied with being rich. There's a difference between being rich and being powerful. Jay-Z and Beyonce just don't want to be rich. They want to be powerful. When you lose power, you're going to lose the riches. All that comes together, okay? So yes, behind closed doors, there are contracts being lost, okay? There's some power play. They getting pushed to the curb. That's why they left here. Allegedly, people are not going to leave where they feel like they're where they feel like they got power, where they feel like they got leverage. People are going to leave once they feel like their power is being threatened, and once they feel like their leverage is now being compromised. Okay, two become one. Okay, marriage joins. That's why you have to be careful who you marry. Don't be so anxious, ladies, to want to hurry up and get the ring, right? Marriage joins assets, reputation, and legacy. So when controversy hits your husband, it doesn't knock politely on just his door. It storms both of y'all. You don't get to opt out or fall out just because you didn't cause a fire. If Beyonce divorced him today, she's still not going to have the same amount of fans and status as she once had. She'll never be able to be that same Beyonce because of who she married to. Okay, this is not to say she still can't be successful. This is not to say that she's not. We know she's not going to end up homeless in a cardboard box. You got to realize people of status is not just about money for them. They love the power. They love the fact that they have yes men. They love the fact that anytime they want something, they're more obsessed with the power that comes with the money than the money that comes from the power. They're used to going into a dealership and saying, I want that $300,000 Rolls Royce. Not to be told, we got to kind of think about it. These people are obsessed with being catered to. The Carters are obsessed with being catered to. They're obsessed with getting what they want. It's not about they could take the money out the bank and pay it. No, they are used to having the world catered to them. Being idolized. People not questioning them. People not turning them down. People not rejecting them. When people know your business and people know your failures, people use it against you. And it takes the leverage that you're able to use to get what you want. These are some hard truths. Loving a powerful man means managing powerful risk. So much is given, ladies, much is required. You want a man with a bunch of billions, a lot of money. Listen, you better make sure that man's life is straight. Instead of you looking fixated on what his bank account look like, you better know what his past look like. You better know what his character look like. You better make sure he wasn't out here messing with a bunch of young churn and kids and all of that before he became this billionaire status. Loyalty without boundaries can look like self-betrayal. Being the good wife doesn't guarantee safety. I'm going to be quiet. We already know Beyonce has been raised in a household, which is the reason why her mom took a lot off of Matthew Knowles. Beyonce was raised in a household in which a woman is trained to be humble and told to just go along to get along. Don't buck the system. I'm not saying she's 100% pushover, but I truly believe Beyonce pretty much does everything Jay-Z tells her to do. I believe Beyonce trusts Jay-Z more than she trusts her own judgment. And you have a lot of married women like that. They will let their husbands decide everything, even if it makes no goddamn sense, even if it means she loses everything in the process. You got some women, they are more in love with having a husband than they are with being in reality. A woman's silence often costs her more than her voice. We know Beyonce is quiet. She's going to continue to be quiet. She's not going to discuss this in interviews. She's not going to discuss this and broadcast it on social media. Beyonce is going to be one of those wives. She's going to be a successful wife that suffers in silence. It's a lot of shit she gonna see that's gonna piss off, but she just gonna endure it. And Jay-Z gonna do the same thing. I'ma fix it. I'ma handle it. I'ma assure it. Don't worry about it. We good. Jay-Z is gonna keep telling her we good, we good, we good, we good. But she's gonna see different from what he's saying. But because she's so in love with him and so in love with keeping a family image together, she gonna go along to get along. And it's going to make her miserable. It's going to be nights. He going to be sleeping peacefully. She going to be walking around in her 18-bedroom mansion, or however many. I heard they don't have to reduce the lifestyle of living. So they probably went from an 18 to a 12-bedroom, which is still wonderful. She knows what he's saying is not going to line up with what she's seeing. He's going to keep pushing that same lie. We good, we good, we good. We can't worry about that, B. We got to keep it moving. They want to see us fold. They want to see us, break. We got to maintain. He's giving her that dope dealer talk. Okay? I got this. I got you. I got our kids. I'm not going to let us down. We going to see through this. We going to persevere. Jay-Z is older. He knows how to talk a good one. He knows how to finesse. He knows how to charm. He been doing that all his life with Beyonce. Okay, which is why in the end he gave in and married and ended up letting her have all the kids she wanted to have, because he knew at this point the charming don't work. I got to put other stuff more solid that's going to keep her staying with me. That's going to give her reason to not consider leaving me. Okay. A couple of more points before I drop the mic. You don't marry potential. You marry patterns. If that man has a corrupt past of dishonesty, of being ruthless, of hurting other people and moving on and brushing it off like it don't affect him, that is what he is. Loyalty doesn't come with immunity. Being loyal does not make you exempt from having to feel the wrath of that man's consequences. His past doesn't disappear, it gets access. They're not going to let up. Something in the elite is going against Jay-Z. Because every time we think he has been able to push his past behind him, it keeps creeping back up like an STD. Okay? Marriage is not a witness protection program. Okay? Just because y'all are hiding, it does not mean, if anything, because y'all hiding and y'all not addressing it, people can create whatever narrative they want to create, whether if it's true about Jay-Z or Beyonce or not, because they're not speaking on it. And they fear if they were to address it, it's just going to open a can of worms. So they kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. This isn't about leaving your man at the first sign of trouble. It's about understanding that standing by someone is not a neutral act, especially when empires, brands, and legacies are involved. Because when two become one, so do the consequences. Y'all, let me know what y'all think about this with Jay-Z and Beyonce. Do you think she's really, really happy with the direction that her marriage is going now that all this controversy with Jay-Z keeps unfolding? Do you think she's happy with that? Do you think that she'll still be able to sustain her stardom status regardless of the embarrassment and other past controversies that are constantly being revealed and brought to the front? How do you think this is going to affect their children? I mean, granted, Blue Ivy is young. She has to move to a whole nother country. I mean, that has to be a lot for a teenage girl. You want to be in America where you are around kids who you can kind of identify with and all of that. So just like Diddy's kids are feeling the fire, Blue Ivy and the twins, they're going to feel the fire too. It's going to continue to keep unraveling. But anyway, before y'all leave, hit that like button. I appreciate it, y'all. I will see y'all next week. Take care and y'all be safe.